Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Lesson Known Classics. This is episode number 1784 and Doubleshot number 1678. I got two big 80th anniversary stuff for Batman here. First, the hardcover collecting only stories from Detective Comics. Why in the world is this? Because I've been Batman 80 years. Don't this mostly collect stories not even related to Batman? This is called Detective Comics 80 Years of Batman Deluxe Edition. Except not all the stories have anything to do with Batman. It's mostly put a lot of first appearances. Mostly 80 years of Detective Comics, not Batman. Yes. Now they have covers for a lot of the comics appearing here of the series. Now, here are your stories. You have the story Blockbuster, which all the story is the debut of the character the Crimson Avenger. Yep. Dynamics 27, obviously the debut of Batman. 38 for Detective Comics, debut Robin. Missing Evidence. This actually is a debut of, I believe it is, let's see, who was it? I'll look up here. This one is a debut of Airwave. Yes, Airwave. Who, here's a strange fun fact about Airwave. The original one. Did you know that he is the uncle of Hal Jordan? I'm not kidding about that. He seriously is. His son, who's the third Airwave, Hal Jordan's distant cousin. Yep. Yeah, post Flashpoint, they made these two basically cousins, which is kind of weird. Yeah, and here's Airwave. He just basically a guy who wears a green suit. Now, the Crimson Avenger, you might wonder, like, what's his attire? What's his signature attire? And all the Crimson Avenger is, like, there he is. He's simply put a Shadow ripoff. Yeah, one of two they did for this comic. The other, of course, being Batman, except Batman doesn't use guns anymore. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the only way basically they made these two. His uncle, his last name is Jordan. Yeah, they made this a connection years later. Yep. Now, what about, let's say, the other stories in here? Well, for that's the coming from 60s first appearance, like I said, of Airwave. The Commandos are coming. This actually is the debut of the Boy Commandos. Yeah, they kind of featured in the book for quite a while, actually. The Crimes of Two-Face. Obviously, the debut of Two-Face. The Riddler. The debut of the Riddler. Yep. The Origin of Pow Wow Smith. Yes, a Native American character who did appear on Justice League, believe it or not. Yes, except he hated being called Pow Wow Smith. That was Detective Comics 151. That was actually his debut. The Land of the Lost Years. This one is the debut of Roy Raymond. Yes. You're probably thinking, who the heck is Roy Raymond? He's the father of the character Owlman who appeared in Peter D. Tomasi's One for Outsiders. Yeah. He's basically an adventurer. The Strange Experiment Dr. Idril for Detective Comics 225. This comic is noteworthy for the debut of Martian Manhunter. Yep. 233, The Batwoman. This, of course, is the debut of the lesbian Kate Kane. Oh no, this is basically the debut of her awesome aunt, Catherine Kane, which they made this retcon post Flashpoint. Yes. And of course, also making, Catherine Kane Bruce Wayne's legal aunt, and this was actually his first love. Batman meets Batmite, the debut of Batmite. The Challenge of Clayface is actually the debut of the second Clayface, Matt Hagen, which his powers were used for the original Clayface, and this guy is actually dead. He's dead for years. And they actually used the name of this Clayface for the one who appeared in the Batman animated series, and basically gave him the career of the original one, who was Basil Carla, who was an actor. Basil Carla himself would not make his debut outside the comics until The Batman. Mystery of the Menacing Mask. This comic is noteworthy for the start of the Earth 1 era for Batman. That's simply what it is. That's the comics 327. 359, Miller debut of Batgirl, obviously. 400, debut of Man-Bat, one of Neil Adams' best-known characters he's ever created his whole career aside from Ra's al Ghul. The Himalaya Incident, and that one is a story involving, because it's Archie Goodwin, it's Manhunter, Paul Kirk. In 453, which is a kind of follow-up story for that one, a year later, well, pretty much like a following year, because this comic could come out a couple months. Yeah, that actually is the conclusion to Man-Bat, the Manhunter feature. That's why he died. No Hope in Crime Alley. Yes, any noteworthy debut in this one, per se. Yeah, it's just another story featuring Neil Adams and, well, it's not, basically Daniel, Nick, and Dick Giordano, though the artwork is the style of Neil Adams, per se, yes. It's just basically a little bit about for Crime Alley itself, the place where the Waynes were murdered. Yeah, that's something noteworthy about this story, is the fact that they identified the place where he was murdered. The Deadshot Ricochet. This is from the Strange Apparition storyline. And this also was return of Deadshot. First time since his, well, his debut from, I think it was like Batman 53, I think it was. His first story was really bad, and it's never collected in trade. Batman's New York Adventure, just a Batman story. Kill a Legend. Awesome story this one is. The Night of Thanks But No Thanks. This, I believe, was the first comic post, I think this was the last comic for the Earth 1 Batman before the relaunch. 742, Greg Rucka's story, part of the New Gotham stuff. Titan Comics Volume 227, remake of the original story. 27, I think that was also from the same story too. And of course, Watch of Shadows, also from the same story too. Yeah. A lot of really good classic stories in here. If you're curious basically about these stories, I do recommend checking this out. I'm going to give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Oh, if you're curious to who actually did these stories per se. The Crimson Avenger story is done by a man by the name of Jim Chambers. I'm not going to mention about the Batman ones. Case Business the Evidence. The Airwave story. That's done by Mort Wissiger and Lee Harris. I believe this guy was also one of the guys who co-created Green Arrow. The Commandos Are Coming. Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, same guys who created Captain America. Origin Power Wallace Smith. This is written by Don Cameron and artwork by the late Cameron and Martino. Yeah, they're even no longer alive. Land of Lost Years, the Roy Raymond story. They only credit the artist, do not credit the writer here for some reason. Ruben Manera. Yes. The Marsh Manor story, the writing is done by Joe Smithson and artwork by Joe Kurtieff. The Batwoman. Edmund Hamilton and Sheldon Muth. Batmites. Bill Finger. Yes, Bill Finger wrote this one. Clayface. Bill Finger too, and Sheldon Muth, basically. He did some of the artwork. Conrad comes back from Mystery Menacing Mask with John Bruman in the writing. Gardner Fox has a $1 million baby Batgirl. Man-Bat, New Adams Frank Ribbons. Himalaya Incident, Archie and Walt Simonson, who does issue 443 as well. Danny O'Neill just does issue 457 with Dick Giordano. Steve Eckhart does 474. 42 is Bob Rishkins and Michael Golden, who actually still very much alive. Dick Giordano does the artwork for issue 500 for the story Kill a Legend with Alan Barnett in that one. Now, 5, 6, 7, the writing is quite interesting because both guys in this story are no longer alive. Harlan Ellison, classic sci-fi writer who did the critically acclaimed, who wrote the story The City of Trevor, though it has official rewrite credit for Gene Roddenberry. Yeah, he's the guy who came up with that story, and the original script, the unaltered script, was adapted for a mini-series done by IDW several years ago. Check it out. It's actually quite interesting of a story. And basically what they do is they replace a lot of stuff, and the Guardian Forever look completely different in that story. Yeah. The Are Dead, Greg Rucka. Case cover second, Brad Militz, Brian Hitch, 27. Scott Snyder, Sean Murphy. Watch Hotels, Neil Gaiman, and Mark Carrillo. Yep. All right. Now moving on to a different book, we actually have Batman 80th anniversary, 80 years of Batman. Bat Family. This has the entirety of the Detective Comics 1000, including the deluxe edition. Detective Comics 80th Anniversary, Robin 80th Anniversary Giant, 80th Anniversary Super Spectacular, Joker 80th Anniversary 1-page Super Spectacular, Catwoman 80th Anniversary Super Spectacular, and that's it. Yeah, and these are your writers for these classic Batman stories. For, let's see if I can find it here. Detective Comics 1000. I've discussed this one whenever I've actually reviewed this one. But Robin, the 100-page Super Spectacular, the, yeah. Yeah. Let's see if I can get to it here. Now, prior to reading this book, only with basically the stuff related to, only think I'm from 1000. I don't think I read before. Everything else in this book, I never read before prior to reading this book. Yeah, some of the stuff published in this book basically feel like reprints. Now, the decoration stories, the first one, A Little Nudge. This is done by Marv Wolfman and Tom Grimmett. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, each of these stories basically are done by various different creators. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these, let's see. I have to basically look up. So basically, let's do this. Okay, for the 80th anniversary 100-page Super Spectacular, I've already discussed mentioned you did the first one. If I can bring it up here. Here we go. Great cover, by the way. Now, team building is done by Devin Grayson, artwork by Dan Jurgens, no reppin'. Lesson plan, Tim Seeley and Tom King. More time, Judd Winnick. Extra credit, Adam Beechin. Boy Wonders, James Henry IV. Fitting in, Emmy Wolfram, with Damon Scott in the artwork. Period Tomato is My Best Friend. And Bat and Mouse is done by Robert Thompson. Yep, that's who pretty much does these stories for this giant-sized one-shot. Yeah, and a lot of these stories, basically, some of them feel like they're like reprints, kind of in a way. Mostly just expanding upon some classic stories here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's mostly, but basically what these are. Mm-hmm. They also have a Catwoman one. Now, the Catwoman one, who does these stories, this one, we have Now You Can See Me. Now, some of these basically who actually have worked on the Catwoman comic before over the years. Now You Can See Me is something Ann Nocenti, who was the second writer for Catwoman Volume 4. You have Tom King, who wrote the story Helena, featuring Helena. You have Jeff Parker, Catwoman of Earth. The Cat of Nine Tails, written and drawn by Liam Sharp. Little Bird, Minnie Newell, written by Lee Gerbert. Born to Clean, a recent story done by Chuck Dixon. Yes, a story done by Chuck Dixon of all people. And with Kelly Jones on the artwork. And I've been thinking, really? Chuck Dixon did a book very recently? And he didn't do the Robin one? That's weird. And yet he did one for Catwoman. Yeah. What fight for unconventional wisdom? Addicted Trouble. Ram V with Fernando Baccio. The art picking luck done by Ed Brubaker and Cameron Stewart. Interesting. Yes. And as for the Joker, yeah, it's weird. I get how Robin gets one and Catwoman, but Joker? Yeah, that's weird. Scars. Scott Snyder and Jock. Of course. What comes after a joke? James Henry IV and Michael Jennings. Kill the Batman. excuse me, Greg Miller and Gregory Wutta with artwork by Dan Mora. I don't know who these people are. I don't think they have anything to do with him. Introducing the Dove Corps, done by Dinian. This probably was his last official Batman story before he passed away with Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. The War Within, Peter de Tomasi, art by Simone Bacci. The War Within, also Peter de Tomasi. Last Smile, Paul Dini, with Riley Ruspo on the artwork. Birthday Bugs, Tom Taylor and Eduardo Russo. No Heroes, Eduardo Mercier with Rafi Albuquerque on the writing and the artwork. Penance, Tony S. Daniel, writing and artwork. To Fall into a Hornet's Nest, written by Brian Azzarello, art by Lee Bajero. Yeah, these two guys make total sense because these guys did the Joker one-shot. The thing with some of these stories are, they feel like the continuation stuff that happened from these creators' runs. A lot of them feel like this. But for some reason, now you think, Chuck Dixon, he write maybe a story for Nightwing. Nope. Robin. Nope. Different Catwoman, though. What seems strange, though, even though he had a pretty good run on the book, except it's not exactly as noteworthy as Robin and Nightwing. And yet this is his first story he did since Batman Conquest. This is not Batman Conquest. Bane Conquest, excuse me. Yes. I'm not going into particularly all that detail per se of these stories, but all these stories in here are really good. And they definitely feel like basically they're going to continue stuff related to the characters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but nothing really wrong with these stories per se. Just all really good stories. Great writers they chose for these books. And, yeah, not much to say. I actually own one of the one-shots here. The Catwoman one. Yep, I actually own it. Sit on my chest over there. Yep, really good. I would give this a 10 out of 10 because the stories in here, I read them. They're so good. I highly recommend checking this out. But the thing is, this trade here, it is $40. Yes, seriously, it's 40 freaking bucks for this damn thing. Yep. But yeah, not much else to say with two trades. Both really good. Highly recommend checking them out if you're fans of the Batman. Yep. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one more comic corner and I'm going to do case closed. Okay, next video. Bye.